What's up, y'all? This your man Bobby Washington Vlog. Thank you for stopping by the channel. In this video, I'm gonna show you guys how to use the Pipeline XT with only an interface that only has 2 inputs and 2 extra outputs by using this PatchBay by Behringer 3000. You can use any PatchBay, but I'm gonna show you how to use this one. Check it out. So with this PatchBay, you have 3 different modes. You have the normal mode, you have the half normal mode, and you have the through. You can use either the normal mode or the half normal mode in this application that I'm going to do. I'm not going to go through how to use a PatchBay as far as other applications, only for this application for Pipeline XT to try to get your hardware to go inside your DAW so you can have a hybrid setup like me. So I'm running the warm audio units. I have 1-channel units and I have 2 2-channel units. The 4 1-channel units I'm running is the 73 with the EQ. I also have the 76 EQP. I have also the warm audio bus compressor, which is a 2-channel stereo unit, and I have the warm audio WA2A compressor. And I also have a stereo pair of the 542s by Neves. So I have that as well as stereo. So I have 2 stereo units and I have 4 1-channel units. So I needed this because I only have 2 extra outputs on my Apollo interface, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 are going to my speakers. So 3 and 4 is the only ones I have free to do what I'm trying to do here. So I also have 2 inputs, 1 and 2 as well, that I use for everything. So I'm gonna show you how to set it up with the PatchBay. It's kind of tricky. It took me 2 days to figure this out, but I got it, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. So the first thing you wanna do is you wanna know how to route on the physical interface. So you're gonna need some TRS cables. That's the stereo cables with the 2 rings, not the 1. The 1, I think they're called TS, but you want TRS for these type of hardware units. So let's say you want to start with the first thing, which is the most important. The hub of the studio is the audio interface. So we're going to start with the Apollo. The Apollo, like I said, has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. So that means you're going to need 4 points because each one of them represents an input or an output. So the top is what you're going to flow your output stuff through. And the bottom is where you're going to flow the input stuff through. So think of it like a waterfall coming through. You know, so leaving your output of your speaker of your or your output of your audio interface going through the output of this Behringer, right? And then back into the input, right? But you can't put the same unit like in and out on input 1. It has to be separate. So let me show you how to do it. So for the Apollo, my outputs, rather, we'll start with that. The outputs, no, let's start with the inputs. I like to start with inputs. The inputs, you start with the Apollo, you'll start with input on 1 for channel 1 and input 2 for channel 2. And you'll put them at the bottom in the back. The back looks like the front, but it's darker. So you'll put inputs for the Apollo at 1 and input 2, right? Now you would think for the outputs to put them up here right above 1 and 2. No, that's where you'll go wrong. That's what I did for a long time. Why am I getting this impedance, you know, this loop screeching noise, you know, feedback? Because you have to give them separate points. So inputs will go 1 and 2, and then the 2 outputs, 3 and 4, will go up at the top. 3 and 4 for the outputs, because remember, inputs down here, outputs up here. Okay? So 1 and 2 inputs, 3 and 4 up the top, outputs, and this is all Apollo. They own the full real estate of this Behringer. Okay? Now that we got that out of the way, now let's go to the 2 stereo units. We have the warm audio stereo unit, right, which has also, you know, left and right. So they have 2 outputs and 2 inputs, the same as the Apollo. So from 5 through 8, right, from here, 5 through 8 will go the inputs, right? The inputs would be 5 and 6. So inputs of the first hardware unit, which is stereo, which is the warm audio bus compressor, will be 5 and 6. The outputs of those left and right will be 6 and 7. So of course 6 will represent left, 7 will represent right, always left to right. So again, 5 and 6 is the inputs of the first stereo hardware piece, and 7 and 8 is the output. So keep that in mind. 5, 6, 7, 8. That belongs to the warm audio bus compressor that real estate. So remember, Universal Audio owns 1 through 4. Now 5 through 8 is owned by Warm Audio bus compressor because it's a stereo unit. It has 4 different points that it needs. Now let's go to the next stereo piece that I have, which is the Neve 524s. I have a pair of those, making it 2 stereo pair. Again, it needs 4 points. So we stopped at 5 through 8. Now we got to go through 9 through 12. So 9 and 10, the bottom represents the input. That's going to go, you're going to plug this in the back, right? Not the front. You're going to plug it in the back of these units of 9 and 10 inputs for that 542 Neve. So your outputs, I'm going to go to 11 and 12 for that same Neve. So the real estate is owned 9 through 12 from the Neve. And again, inputs is at the bottom, 9 and 10, and 11 and 12 top is the output. Left and right, left being 11, 12 being right for the output. So now all 12 of those are given up. Now I have 4 more one-channel units that I need to go ahead and give a place to. So since we stop at 12, my next one-channel unit is going to be the 73 EQ. It has 1 channel. So that only takes 2 points because it has an in and out. That's it. So we'll use 13 and 14, right? So we'll bring in the Warm Audio 73 EQ on the 13 in that one spot right there. And then the output would be at 14. We're not going to put it at 13 because it'll be an impedance because you can't put stuff on top of each other, right? Even if it's the same unit, got to be separate. So again, 13 and 14. And then to go faster, my next unit will be 15 and 16. Input, output at the 16, up. My next unit will be 17 and 18. My next unit, 19 and 20. And this will be my last unit, which is my WA2A. Okay? So that's how you connect it from the back. This is the back. So the back looks like the front. So connected in the black area like that. Like I said, on the top of the unit, on the top, there's a button. I can't show you on this diagram here, but it's in my rack right there on the top of the unit. Not in the front of it, not on the front plate, but at the top of the unit. You have buttons that you can slide. You can either slide it all the way back to the normal position, or you can bring it all the way to the front to the half normal, right? Don't put it in through. You put it in through, that's a different operation entirely, and it won't work for this application. So either one. I chose to put it all the way to the back. To the front for half. I did half, but it doesn't matter which one you choose. Okay? Half normal is what I did. So let's put that away. Now we got the hardware connected around the back, right? So now let's talk about the front connection. So the front connection, let's say you want to use, we're going to start with one device, then we want to get fancy and do 2 devices at the same time because I have 2 inputs. If you have more than 2 inputs, you can do more than I can do, right? But I can do 2. So let me show you how it works. So let's say, for instance, I told you number 13 was my first unit, my 73 EQ, 13 to 14. 15 to 16 is my 76. So let's just start with the 73 EQ. So if I want to use my 73 EQ with the preamp and the EQ, I can just simply do this. I'll connect my output, the output, which is the top, 13. I'll connect it to the input, which is the bottom, number 1, right? I'll connect that to that number 1 for the Apollo. So it's going into the Apollo because the Apollo is plugged into that one in the back. So I go from the top here, right, to the bottom of the input. And then to create that loop, I'll do the opposite, right? I'll go over to 14, right? The 14 out. I will go out to the in of number. Oh, I did it backwards. I got it backwards. I'm sorry. So let's start with 1 unit. So the first unit, if I want to go through the 73 EQ, I can simply go from the output to the input. So I would take 13 out, right? 13 out, and I would go to the in of number 1, which is the Apollo. So 13 out, I'll go to the Apollo in. And then I will go to the Apollo 3. Remember, I got 3 and 4 Apollos out. All I got is those 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is my input, so I don't have outputs up here. So I'll go to number 3, and I'll send that output to number 14 input. Why? Because 14 belongs to the same unit as 13. It owns 13 and 14. 13 is the input, 14 is the output for the 73. Hope that makes sense. So you're going from the output of 13 You're going from the output to the input of the audio interface number 1, and then you're going from the number 3 output into the input number 14 at the bottom right there for the input of that unit. Okay? So now if I wanted to use 2 units at the same time, keep that same thing, but now get another 2 cables. So 15 and 16 will go to the next slot. So since 1 is already occupied and 3 out is occupied, we're going to use the ones that are not occupied. We're going to take 15 out and go to number 2 input, because I got 2 inputs, 1 and 2 for the Apollo. Put it at number 2. And then from number 4, because we have 3 and 4 outputs on the Apollo, we'll go out from there to the input of number 16, because the 76 belongs to 15 and 16. Input for 15, output for 16. So we have the 73 belonging to 13 and 14, and we have the 76 belonging to 15 and 16. Okay? If you have more inputs, do the same thing. You have to add more cables. Each mono unit needs 2 cables. Each stereo unit needs 4 cables. Okay? So that's the hardware connection. Now we're going to slide into the software. Okay? We're using Studio One. And different softwares have their own ways of bringing in I/O for hardware and hybrid workflows. I like XT because it does the compensation for you with the auto button, so you don't have any latency at all. I think Logic has one as well, and maybe Live, I believe. Cubase, I should say Cubase. Some of them don't. I know that if you don't have the HD or Pro Tools, you have to do your own calculations sometimes if it drifts off the timing, and that's not good. But yeah, so I'm going to show you how to do it in here. So the first thing you want to do, you want to go ahead and set up your I/O situation. So there's different ways to get to it. I'm going to try to get to it through the plugin that we're going to use anyway. So you want to open up a pipeline plugin. We're going to start with, let's start with the stereo stuff. So we're going to open up the pipeline for stereo on the master bus. So I'm typing in pipeline, and I make sure I choose stereo, not mono. If you choose mono, it's not going to work for a stereo situation. Put stereo. Now you want to set up your I/Os. I already got mine set up, but I'm going to show you how I did it. So when you come into here, you have your left, right. This is the output. And over here, the left side is the input. So this right here is what the signal is sending out. And this right here is what your hardware is sending back into your DAW, the Studio One. So both of these sides got to end up moving for this to be working accurately. So you want to go here, and you want to go ahead and press I/O setup. Now, let's say all this was gone, right? And I had to start over. I would either add a mono channel or add a stereo. Since we're doing a stereo one, let's do a stereo one first, right? That'll be the input, and let's do a stereo for output, right? I'm going to erase it after I'm done because I already have mine that I need. So for the stereo one, what you want to do is you want to figure out, okay, which hardware do I want to use for stereo? Well, let's say this hardware that I'm using first is called, let's call it LA2A, right? LA2A. It's a stereo thing. And we're going to call and then we're going to say, well, okay, well, what patch, where are we patching this, from? We already know that the first 4 belong to the Apollo interface. That's the most important. You only have 2 inputs extra on there. You have 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2 is for speakers. You only have 2 inputs. So let's give them first 4 slots belong to the audio interface. So now, let's say this is your first stereo unit. You're going to give this one from 5 through 9. 5 through 8, I'm sorry. 5, 6, 7, 8. You need 4, just like the Apollo needed 4. Okay? So you're going to say LA2A, and you're going to say from patch, I'll put P for patch, and I'll say from 5, right, through 5 through 5 and 6, I'm sorry, 5-6. 5-6 is 5 and 6 are your inputs for that. On that PatchBay, you're going to use 5 and 6. So I'll put 5 and 6 in, right? And then I'll put a quotation thing, or bracket rather. And I'll put one here, and I'll put, let's see, 7 and 8 out. 7 and 8 out, okay? Like that. Because remember, let me show you. Remember I told you, if that LA2A owns from 5 to 8, 5 and 6 are going to be inputs, and 7 and 8 are going to be outputs. Yes, it owns all 4, but they're not all the 4 in the same position. You got to put 2, the first 2 are inputs, the second 2 are for outputs, okay? Just remember that. All right, so 5 through 8, but 5 and 6 are inputs, and 7 and 8 right there, okay? So that's the input, right? We got that set, and I'll just copy this, the name, and I'll paste that to the output as well, because it's the same thing. It's the same unit, in and out. But now you want to make sure you're touching the right things. So as far as input, so on your input, in my situation, I only have 2. I don't have any virtual inputs. I only have 2 right here. So I'm going to select these 2, the same 2 that belong to those 2, you know, when I'm recording my vocals. But I'm still going to put it there. Now for my output, right, I'm going to go ahead and put for my output, I'm going to put this LA2A. I'm going to make sure I put the outputs left and right, just like that, because that's where they belong, left and right, okay? And that's the I/O setup. And then you want to press OK here. All right. So now inside of here, you want to select the left, which would be the LA2A. But in my case, I'm going to select the bus compressor. Boom. Because this is my stereo unit. You can't select a mono unit in a stereo pipeline. So I'm going to select my comp again here, left and right. They're both the same, come out of 1 and 2. Before I test it, let me go ahead and make sure I have my PatchBay selected for that unit. Okay, I have to make sure that my PatchBay is set up for that unit. So my compressor is 5 through 6. So I have to make sure I bring my inputs, right? My inputs to 5 and 6. So let's do that really quick. Inputs to 5 and 6. All right, inputs to 5 and 6. I'm changing them over now. Putting my inputs to 5 and 6. And I'm putting my outputs to 7 and 8. You got to physically move them. All right, boom. And you want to press auto select, and you see the waves, both waves. The blue represents the hardware, okay, and then you take it off to listen to it. Perfect. And you're gonna notice as I move this compressor up and down, it's gonna get softer and louder. My hardware, watch. I raise the volume. I raise the volume really quick. See. Then I brought it down. So that lets you know it's working. Let's do a pass really quick. I'm going to do a pass from measure 1 through 17. Time processing is already chose because it recognized that I have a plug-in like pipeline, which is a live hardware unit. So it wants to do it that way. I'm going to do the loop. I'm going to call this test. And then I'm going to keep it 24-bit wave. And then I'm going to press OK. I'm messing with the thing, making it louder, making it quieter. Just messing with the unit. I'm just completely mangling my song. Don't judge my songs. I'm making it sound bad on purpose. I'm actually increasing the gain, you know, to saturation mode, to distortion mode, I should say, because I want you to see that it's working. So now it actually imported it back into my track as I had it set, import back into the track. I'm going to press solo. We're going to only hear that. You're going to hear what I was doing when I was turning it up and down, pressing the compression button and not compressing the compression button. Check it out. All right, so that was the stereo piece, and you can do the same thing with the other stereo piece. You can just simply select the next stereo piece. Make sure you go into the PatchBay and you put it to the numbers where that next stereo piece lies. Let's go to a mono one, not a mono, but let's go to a single channel one now. So let's go to the vocal, the lead vocal, and we have a pipeline already on it. We're going to open the pipeline, and we're going to start with the 73. Let's do the 73 and 73. So now this is going to be the same thing. It's just a mono signal. So you do the same thing. I have to make sure I go to the PatchBay. I only need 2 PatchBays and not 4, right? I don't need 4 cables this time. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need 4 sets of cable. I need 2 sets of cables. So basically, I need 4 cables, which is 2 sets, left and right. When you have that, you need 8 cables, 4 sets of cables, left and right. So it's 4 sets, but 8 cables for a stereo pair. So let me remove 2 sets of these, okay? Let's remove 2 sets of these. To the output of 14, which is 13 and 14 for that 73. And then we're going to take the output of 3, which is the Apollo. We're going to go into the input, the 13, which is the input of the same 73. Like I showed you before. Always got to keep it visual. We're going from the input of the 1, because it's only a 1 channel. We don't need input 2. We just need 1. We're going to go to the output, which is only 1 output, because it's only 1 channel. So from the input to number 13 output, right? And then from the 14 input to the output of the Apollo, which is number 3. Okay? And let's press the auto again. There it is. The blue line and the orange line means is there. Take off the wrench so you can hear it working. If you turn on the wrench, you don't hear it working. You hear me singing, but that's without the hardware. That's just inside the DAW. So when you turn the wrench off, you hear the hardware. Hear that? So I gotta fix that screeching because I'm using. Let's see here. Hold on 1 second. Let's make sure we do this correctly. All right, let's make sure I have 2 plugins on. I need to turn off the stereo plugin. That's why it gave me the extra feedback. Let's turn that off, and let's only keep the 1. Okay, here we go. All right, there it is. Now I'm turning it up. Turning it up. That's the preamp. Now I'm turning it down. Now it's gonna be the EQ. A lot of highs, right? That's the Neve style EQ on that preamp. All right, so we see that it works. And if I do the same thing, record with it, I'm not gonna bore you and do the same thing again. But if I bounce down the same way, it'll bounce the lead down to a mono track and it'll import it back into the track with that flavor on it. Okay. If you want to do 2 at the same time, you can do the same thing. You would need to patch. You need 2 more cables. So let's say I want to use that pipeline one. You can run 2 monos. You just can't run 2. You can't run a mono on a separate track with a stereo. You can run 2 single channel mono ones. So I'm gonna use the 76 with the 73. So I'm gonna take the input of the Apollo that I'm not using, input 2, and then that one is 15 and 16. So the output of this is 16. So I'm going to go from 2 input to 16, which is the output of the 76. I'm going to take the other cable, the remaining cable that I have, right here. I'm going to go from the input of 15 on that 76 into the output of 4, the only one I have remaining. So now both 3 and 4 are taken up. 1 and 2 are taken up by 2 different modules, 2 1-channel modules. 73 is on input 1. 76 is on input 2. 73 is on output 3. 76 is on output 4 of the Apollo, right? So now let's open up another pipeline because we have 73 set with this pipeline, right? 76 should be here, here. Yep, that's right. That's the 76, and it's going to be 73. So both of them are actually working correctly. You have to have 2 different pipelines. Okay, so let's say you want to do 2 at the same time. You want to add another module in. We have the 73 already connected with the pipeline. Let's connect the 76, right? So now we already have 1 filled up. We need to put number 2 with the second one. So we'll put 2 cables. 1 cable to go from number 2 to number 15. From 2, hold on, 2, I'm sorry, 2 to 16. 2 to 6, 15 and 16 is 76. 16 is out, 15 is the input. We'll go from 2 to 16, and we'll go from the output of 4, because we already got 3 with 73. It's going out of 3. We're going to go out of 4 into the input of 15, right? And let's pull a pipeline up on it. Pipeline, mono. We're going to select the 76, not the 73 this time. And we're going to take a look at the I/O. Let's make sure it's set up correctly. So the 73 is going into input 1, and 76 is on input 2 right here. See? Now the outputs, let's make sure that's correct. The input, the 73, is coming out of 3, right? And the 76 is coming out of 4. So that's correct. Now let's do our ping test. Auto, boom. It's working. So now we have both. We have this one, pipeline mono here, and pipeline mono 2. See? This is the first one. This is the second one. This is the first one. And you can mute either one or play both of them at the same time. Let's try both of them at the same time and hear what it sounds like. So, was the EQ on the 73. Now I'm gonna mess with the 76. Compressing it. See, I getting slow, louder, compressing. Now back to the 73. 73 highs. See, so I got both of them working together, and I can turn one off, and only use one, and vice versa. And once I get the sound I like, then I'll go again to song, export, mix down, and then I'll export that signal, right? I'll export that signal right back into the DAW, for that bass line, that keyboard sound, or that lead synth or vocal. You can just put it right back into the DAW. Now you have the best of both worlds. You have digital, you have hardware analog. Okay, which I think sounds great. Hope this video helped you guys. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you. All right, peace and blessings. If you need some special technical support, I do have a small fee that I charge of $50 where I talk to you over the phone or through video chat and actually set this up for you if you need my help with anything. Okay,